They told me not to bother packing. They said long flights would be too hard for me, that I'd only slow everyone down.
They told me not to pack. They said long flights would be too hard for me and that I'd only slow everyone down. Just keep the house safe, Grandma. Water the plants, double lock the doors. That's all I was good for in their eyes. I smiled faintly and waved goodbye as their car rolled down the street, their voices filled with laughter about beaches and food I'd never taste. I didn't cry. Not then. I stood still on the porch until the sound of their van faded. Then I went back inside to an empty house that felt quieter than usual. The next morning, when I opened the mailbox, I froze. Inside was a thick envelope from the travel agency. My heart raced as I pulled it open. 4 tickets, still fresh, seats together, departure in 3 days. Their names, not mine. Always not mine. I carried them inside with trembling hands, set them on the table, and boiled water for tea. That's what you do when you're older. You make tea first, before deciding whether the weight in your chest is sadness or anger. I stared at the papers. My name was missing again, and this time I finally let myself feel it. I looked at those tickets for a long time. They weren't mine, but they were in my hands, and that meant something. I thought about all the birthdays where I worked in the kitchen while everyone else sat at the table. I recalled Christmas mornings where I was the last to open a gift because I was the one handing them out. I thought of every trip I had paid for but never joined. My hands shook so much I almost spilled my tea. I opened the old address book and found the number I needed. When the voice answered, young and cheerful, I spoke slowly so my voice wouldn't crack. I'd like to cancel these tickets. There was a pause. All 4, ma'am? The girl asked. Yes, I said. Cancel them. She wanted to know why, but I gave her no reason, just silence. She said, of course, and gave me a number to write down. My hand steadied for the first time that morning. I put the phone down, sat in my armchair, and stared at the photo of my husband smiling from years ago. He would have told me I was right. He would have said I deserved better than being left behind. For the first time in a long time, I felt like he was right there with me. I went to the drawer in my bedroom, pulled out my passport, and held it. The photo was old, but the small blue book was still valid. I checked my account. There was enough for a ticket. Enough for a trip that was mine and mine alone. I booked a seat. 1 seat. My seat. Athens, aisle row. I could barely believe I had done it. That night, I called my neighbor Carol. Can you water my plants for a few weeks? I asked. She agreed, curious. Going somewhere? Just a little trip, I replied, keeping the rest inside. I pulled down my small suitcase from the top shelf and began to pack. 1 dress, the dark blue one that always made me stand taller. A scarf Paul had once bought me. A pair of shoes that had carried me through years of errands but would now take me somewhere new. I folded everything neatly, not rushing. Packing felt different this time. It wasn't a chore, it was freedom. On the morning of the flight, I left the house with a single bag, locked the door, and left a note for Carol. I didn't look back. The airport felt like another world. Glass, voices, metallic echoes, people rushing in every direction. For a moment, I almost turned around, but I didn't. I walked to the counter, handed over my passport, and received my boarding pass. The young agent gave me a smile that said, "Good luck," without words. My heart raced, but my steps grew steadier. On the plane, I sat by the aisle, holding my ticket tightly as if it were a shield. The seat beside me stayed empty until a young man slid in at the last minute. "Long flight?" he asked with a tired smile. "Long enough," I answered. He didn't push for more, and I was grateful. I slept a shallow sleep that kept pain at bay. When I woke, endless blue stretched below, the Mediterranean shining like a secret. That was the moment I knew I had done it. I wasn't at home waiting for messages and pictures. I was here, going somewhere they said I couldn't go. When I landed, the air smelled different, thicker, warmer. The streets looked like paintings come to life. I took a small taxi to a simple guest house. No one looked at me like I was a burden. The woman at the desk even called me Madam. I sat in the quiet room, suitcase by the wall, and whispered to myself, I made it. I wandered through streets of white houses and flowers in clay pots. Cats napped in sunny corners. Life moved gently, with no one rushing me along. I bought bread, olives, and a small postcard. I thought of my granddaughter, Amelia. She was 16, filled with filters and laughter. I wrote her a short note. Guess where I am? Greece. The sea is bluer than you can imagine. Love, Grandma. I didn't write to my son. I didn't write to his wife. They didn't need to know. That night, I sat on the balcony of my little room, listening to the street below. For the first time in decades, no one expected me to cook, to wait, to tidy, or to stay behind. I was simply me, a woman with her own seat on the plane, her own room in a foreign city, her own breath filling the night air. As I sat there, scarf around my shoulders, I realized something simple and strong. They said I was too old. They were wrong.